with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week I'm joined by the frontman and namesake of a Coeur d'Alene, Idaho-based band. They were nominated for 4 awards at last year's INCMA show, where they were awarded Best Song for the title track off of their 2022 debut album. Help me welcome to the show, Mr. Sam Leyde. Sam, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's sun shining. Can't complain. Every day it's not like 10 degrees and slushy out. You know what? Can't complain about that.
Yeah, ain't that the truth, man? Like this is my favorite time of year. It's not too hot yet, not too cold. Yeah. You can be outside, enjoy the sunshine. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, awesome, guys. We'll tee off with Sam next.
It's time to tee off with Ty. Here comes the first 4.
Okay, Sam, we start every show the same way. We call it the first 4. It's just kind of 4 icebreaker questions to get to know you. The first one, would you rather be the funniest or the smartest person in a room, and why?
Funniest, because if people are laughing, they're not thinking about how little I know.
There you go. I like it. Okay, question number 2. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Chicken teriyaki.
Oh, you were ready. Okay, this is an important question.
Okay.
When you say chicken teriyaki, there is a very distinct Washington, Seattle style teriyaki. Is that what you're talking about?
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, just making sure we're on the same team here.
Absolutely.
Because you get that kind of authentic style teriyaki, and it's completely different. And you ask for this
flame, not in a pan or whatever. Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay, I figured, because you're from Arlington, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So I figured a west side of Washington guy appreciates the teriyaki.
Absolutely. It's hard to find. You can't find it like anywhere else. I've lived and been all over the country, and they just, people don't know how to do it. There's just something about it. But yeah, that's funny.
I married a Seattle girl, and that is the one thing that she misses from over there the most is teriyaki.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for this one, you can pick any fictional character, TV, movie, book, whoever. Who would you bring to life with and hang out with for a day?
That is a good one.
These ones make you think.
You know what? I would do any of the main cast from the movie A River Runs Through It, and I would go fishing with them in Montana.
Okay. That is a very well thought out answer. Usually it's like, I want to hang out with Homer Simpson for a day because Homer Simpson's fun. That is a fantastic answer.
Well, that's my all-time favorite movie, and I have the book, and I love it. I read through it once a year, and I always watch the movie on my birthday, and so that's probably.
So this is definitely something you've thought about at least once before.
Oh yeah.
Okay, last question of the first 4, Sam. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything other than money, alcohol, Pepsi, tacos, guitar strings, scotch tape, whatever, what would it be?
Unlimited supply, but not money. Well, man.
Told you, they make you think a little bit.
Yeah. Time, I guess.
Okay. I can get behind that one. I
don't think I'd want to be immortal, because like that would get kind of old, but I think it's it'd be nice to just kind of hit pause on time and have all the time that you want to do, like all the things that you want to do. I think that would be
right. Hang out in this weather for as long as you possibly can.
Freeze time during the summer when it's 80, 85 degrees out, and then just, if you could fast forward too, that'd be great, because then I could just fast forward to fall, and then like maybe a couple days of snow in the winter, and then back to summer.
There you go. That sounds like my perfect climate. If you find that place, let me know, because we're moving there together.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, for sure.
Sam, man, that was the first 4. Thanks for playing along, letting us get to know you a little bit. But now let's pull back the curtain. Tell us about growing up in Washington and how you got into music, because I read somewhere that you didn't pick up your first guitar really until you were 18. That's
correct. Yeah. When I was a kid, I've like musicians on both sides of my family. My mom's dad was a band teacher, like a high school band teacher. And my dad's dad was an entertainer in the Seattle area. And then my dad plays all kinds of instruments. My mom was in band, when she was in school. growing up, man, there was just always music in the house, just a huge, broad variety of genres. And so, growing up, I got a real good taste of kind of what was out there. And so always music in the house. It was just part of our family dynamic to have music playing. But, I wasn't really interested in playing music until I was 18, and there was this girl that I liked.
Oh, that's the story.
The tale as old as time, right? And I had made up a song in my head for her, and I wanted to play it, but I didn't know how to play guitar. And so I asked my dad, who plays all these. I was like, "Hey, can you show me how to play?" So he just drew out some chord diagrams, and I just kind of like faked it, and I found what kind of sounded right. And I played the song for her, and I was like, "Hey, I wrote you the song." I played it, and she goes, "Oh, that's so nice! Like, what a nice thing that a friend would do for another friend."
Oh no!
And I was like, "Yeah, buddy, totally." And didn't work out with her, which that's okay. But I stuck with the guitar, and
it seems like the guitar was a good thing to come out of that.
Yeah.
It worked out for you moving forward. But how did you get so far in life, I guess, without becoming that kind of musical presence, I guess, within your family? Because you did jump into that pretty quickly after that, right? You became kind of a music director at churches around the area.
Yeah. It was just something that, and I don't know if it's something that's genetic, but it felt like it came naturally to me, and then, singing and playing at the same time took a little while to get used to. And that's obviously a skill that everybody has to figure out when they're learning. But, it felt like it just came real natural to me. And I don't know if, again, I don't know if it's DNA or, it's just one of those things, but, it just kind of all clicked. It was something that I found I was passionate about, and, had a talent for it.
So then you took that and kind of parlayed that into being a musical director at some churches around the Northwest and down in the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
First off, how do you get into a role like that?
Well, it kind of varies, there are websites like Indeed.com, where you go find a job. There's websites for that, just for churches, as you can find that. But it's a lot of, who it's a lot of knowing people, and somebody that will go to a different church, and then they'll go, "Hey man, we're looking for a music guy." And they'll, call me and go, "Hey, come check it out, at least come interview." And so a lot of it's relationship based.
Which I think makes a lot of sense, especially in the church community, that a lot of it is relationship based to get in there. But what is a position like that like for somebody that doesn't know out there?
It's, most of the time it's really chill. I really enjoyed it. And, all the years I did it, it was, it gave me a lot of time to write music and to play guitar and just think about music, and it's awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. And the time that I did that, it was really fun.
When you were doing that, were you also going out and playing kind of as a solo artist at bars and stuff, or did that kind of transition into that later?
Yeah, I think I first started playing, I think 7 years ago was my first gig. Like just playing out somewhere. I just thought it would be kind of fun to do, and it's like, well, this is what I'd be doing if I was sitting at home. I'm just sitting on the couch playing my guitar and singing these songs anyway. So I might as well make a little money at it, go meet people and have a good time.
So was there a moment that you kind of decided that you wanted to transition from a solo artist to being in a band like the Sam Leyde Band, or did that kind of happen organically? I mean, I guess the long and the short of it is how did you meet your bandmates, Aaron, Mike, Justin, and Dylan?
Yeah. So there was a moment where, because, after a few years of playing in bars and restaurants and writing original songs, you go out and you play, and people, most of the time, people aren't there to hear music. They're there to, have a drink or get something to eat. And so, you could play, Brown Eyed Girl, and people will kind of, they'll listen a little bit, but when they go, hey, this is a song I wrote, they immediately all start talking to each other and nobody's even like paying attention, and it got to the point where I just went, I want to play my songs for people who want to hear music. And I would have to do actual concerts and like festivals and stuff like that. And I need to have a band. And so Dylan, the guitar player, he and I worked together. And so we were just talking and like, dude, we should start a band. Like, yeah, let's start a band. And he goes, my buddy plays keys. Okay, cool. Let's get him on board. And then Mike, the bass player, he's also a local musician who, does solo stuff and writes his own songs. And so I'd met him through the music scene of going to other people's gigs. And I went to one of Mike's gigs one time and I was sitting with this guy and he's like, oh yeah, I've known Mike for a long time. And he goes, I play drums. And I go, well, you playing with anybody right now? He goes, no. I said, you want to join my band? He goes, yeah, let's do it. He goes, Mike plays bass. Like, really? He can play bass for us. This is perfect. So it was just kind of like two sets of friends that I knew and me. And we brought it all together.
Well, and you mentioned just how tight this kind of inland Northwest music scene is here. Yeah. And I remember one night we had our crew out and we were watching Joey Anderson play in a tap room. And all of a sudden he goes, hey, I see Sam Leyde there. Sam, you want to come play some music? Yeah. And it was a couple of the folks that were with us. It was their first time ever seeing you play live.
Yeah.
And they had nothing but good things to say about you for obvious reasons. But how important is it for you to be so intertwined with not just the fans in the community, but the other artists as well?
Well, it's, musicians and artists and, creative people in general. I mean, we're all weirdos in our own way. You know what I mean? Like there's the musician side of it. Like we're all kind of weirdos in the same way. A lot of us are just wired like to be creative with music. And so to hang out with people like that, it's so refreshing because you can hang out with somebody who's like a businessman or something. And you talk about, hey man, I saw this, I overheard this conversation and it really made me think about like how I relate to waterfalls or, whatever it is. And they'll look at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but you say that to another musician and they're like, oh yeah, totally. I totally understand. So it's just kind of that kinship and that kindred spirit of creative people who kind of understand our weirdnesses. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just, it's so refreshing, man. And then there's a big group of musicians, talented musicians, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene. It's unreal. Like I went
this area is one of the best kept secrets in the country.
Oh, absolutely. I went to Nashville like 2 years ago to do some songwriter rounds and did some songwriting and stuff. And I would go to these songwriter rounds and I'm going, we got this level of talent, on a Friday night on Sherman Ave in Coeur d'Alene. Mm-hmm. You can hear this and better, or, where, Spokane, like I was blown away, and it really gave me perspective of how good the music scene around here is. And I started to think like, man, in 10 years, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene is going to be what Seattle was in the 90s, with the grunge bands and stuff. Like people are going to find out about it eventually.
I think you're 100% right about that. And I try every time that I talk to somebody that's not from this area, I tell them just to find a local artist from this area. Doesn't matter who it is, and they're going to be blown away. I mean, there's just so much talent and the camaraderie here just feels different than it does in other places. You recently did a writers round style show here in Spokane with Jesse Quandt, Joey Anderson, Carly Osica. And it was the first kind of real writers round style show that I've seen here in quite a while that wasn't put on by some major production. What was that like for you behind the scenes and to step out and see a crowd like that in Spokane? I know it wasn't as big as you guys had hoped, but still, I mean, to see a crowd like that come out to see a writers round was pretty cool.
Oh, it was so cool, man. It was, I left going, I could do that every night for the rest of my life. It just sort of fulfilled that thing of, like why I started the band. Like I want to play these songs for people who want to hear music. And that's what everybody there was there to do, They were all there to hear. And like, if you see videos that people took on their phones from that night, like nobody's talking, nobody's talking over the music. Nobody's, it was just, it was such a cool night. And I can't wait to do something like that again. It was for my, my artist creative soul. Like it was so refreshing, man. It was that was a fun night.
Well, and I sure hope that happens more often, because it was, and I've heard tons of people buzzing about it and talking about it. And really, it just seems to kind of invigorated the country music scene around here even more than it had kind of in the past, I think.
Yeah, no, it was, and Joey really drove that whole thing. And he really has a mind for that sort of thing. He's a details guy, and we need him so badly, because so many of us are the flighty artistic type that, forget where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. And so I want to shout out Joey Anderson. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. And the guy has a mind for that sort of thing, and he gets things done, and good things are happening. So yeah,
for sure. I mean, anything that happens in this inland Northwest country scene, I feel like Joey's got his hand in it some way, somehow.
Oh yeah.
But so, let's turn the attention a little bit towards you and the songwriting and the creative side, because you've brought it up a couple of times. You put your first single out with the band in 2021, but last year is really kind of when you guys hit your stride. You put out your full-length debut album, which included the re-release of that initial song and then 11 others. Mm-hmm. And we do have that title track, Big Small Town, for everybody to listen to. But before we get into that, can you give us kind of the story behind what the writing and recording process was like for the song and for the album?
Big Small Town was one that I actually wrote in Nashville when I was there. I had an appointment with a guy who his name's Chris Sly, and he actually had a #1 for Rascal Flatts back in the day. That was a song called Here Comes Goodbye. And he was a top 10 on American Idol, like in, I think 2006 or something. And like I don't know, it was like the third or the
back in the day
season or something, but yeah. So I got to go to his house and go in his writing room. And I just had, so another musician friend from around here, a buddy of mine named Sam Leyde, we were just talking one day, and he said, he goes, the more that people move to Coeur d'Alene, he goes, the fewer times I actually just see my friends around town. Because I used to just you'd hang out downtown and you run into people, and it's just the bigger this town gets, like the less that happens. And I just said, yeah, that's life living in a big, small town. And I went, I better write that down, because that's going to be
that's a good line.
And so I took that idea to Chris Sly and kind of explained, like, here's the thinking behind it, and here's the overall vibe. And I just had the hook, and he goes, oh dude, he goes, that sounds like my hometown, because he grew up like an hour north of Nashville, and it was a real small town, and that town's growing. And I was thinking, like, and we might have something here, like, because this is everybody that is either in or grew up in a small town feels that same thing of like, this is changing and this isn't like it was. And there's really nothing I can do about it, but sit here and kind of gripe to myself about how things are changing. And so, had that, and then took it back to the guys in the band. And I really trust those guys. Like I do write most of the songs, but they write the parts. They have to, they come up with the stuff. I don't write the guitar parts. I don't write, I don't come up with the drum stuff or the keyboard stuff. I just trust those guys to use their creative talent to make it the best that it can be for the song, and they always do that. I took it back to the guys, and we laid it down, and man, this turned out good. So that's kind of how the whole album went. Just bringing these songs to the guys and going, run with this, and it's a talented group of guys I got around me, so I'm really thankful for that.
Well, here, let's let everybody take a listen to it. This one is called Big Small Town by the Sam Leyde Band.
We could ride our bikes forever, just the tires and the road together. The wind in our hair, man, the freedom. No helmets, now we didn't need them. Weeded up the country store, the one that ain't there no more. Be home when the streetlights came on. Those kind of days, they are gone. 'Cause there's a parking lot where paradise was. They're building condos and driving the prices up. They used to be washed up Silverados, now it's all Range Rovers and Tahoes. Used to be a country mile, now it's miles of houses going up and down. Used to feel safe to wander around. You could go to sleep and not hear a sound, except the peace and quiet that you chased and found. Things change, it feels strange, I guess that's life now. Living in a big small town. Nothing wrong with things progressing. Yeah, I should probably accept it, cause they'll all just move on without me. But I'll always miss how it used to be when it was washed up Silverados. Now it's all Range Rovers and Tahoes. Used to be a country mile, now it's miles of houses going up and down. Used to feel safe to wander around. You could go to sleep and not hear a sound, except the peace and quiet that you chased and found. But things change, it feels strange, I guess that's life now. Living in a big small town. There's a parking lot where paradise was. When I drive around, all I can think of, when it was just washed up Silverados, now it's all Range Rovers and Tahoes. Used to be a country mile, now it's miles of houses going up and down. Used to feel safe to wander around. You could go to sleep and not hear a sound, except the peace and quiet that you chased and found. Things change, it feels strange, I guess that's life now. Living in a big small town. I miss my small
One is Big Small Town by the Sam Leyde Band, the title track off of their 2022 debut album. Sam, naming an album's a pretty important part of the process. Mm-hmm. Was this song just kind of as you were writing it, did it feel like it was going to be the title track to the album, or did that decision come later? And how did you guys make it?
That decision came later, and I think it was just we wrote on a whiteboard, like, here's the track list, here's all the songs, like, what do we want to call this album? And I think just because the idea resonates with us and with so many people that we talk to, everywhere we play it, people are like, oh man, like that's like my hometown. It just felt like it resonated with people enough that we should make it the title track. And we put the picture of Lake Coeur d'Alene on the front of the album and for the artwork and stuff. And it was just sort of like hey, this is our town, this is where we're from. And that was just kind of a shout out to Coeur d'Alene. So,
and it definitely kind of feels like that message resonates kind of throughout everything that you guys do, that you're very true and honest and authentic to who you guys are with every song that you write. When you sit down to write a song, I know you said that all of the band members kind of write their own parts, but when you're sitting down, has your process changed at all between when you were writing for yourself as a solo artist versus writing as a band?
No, not really. It's pretty much the same process. A lot of times it's just an idea or a thought will pop in my head. I'm not real strategic about it. I don't have like scheduled writing times. I know a lot of like professional songwriters, they go to an office and they work all day on writing songs, but, and I'd love to do that someday, but for right now, it's just, I'll find inspiration in something. And, like we have a song on the album called Mixtape Summer. And I was on Instagram one day and I saw something about like, oh, it's mixtape, whatever. And I'm like, I don't think you really know why you're saying tape. I think you're talking about a playlist and not an actual tape, mixtape,
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to think about like, making mixtapes, because I used to make mixtapes, on cassettes, and,
definitely.
I had to put tape on the corner of the tape or it wouldn't work. You had to cover that little hole, and then you would actually have to call a radio station and request the song you wanted to hear, and then wait for them to play it, and then you like record it off of the off the radio and stuff, and so it just was it was summertime, and I was driving around, and I just I kind of wrote the whole thing in my head, and then like sang one line at a time into my voice memo, and just it's little things like that just kind of spark your when you start to think about something, or if there's an idea or a something you just can't get out of your head, and you're like, well, okay, I'm gonna how can I put this into a song in a way that hasn't been done before? And I, like you said, like really try to be authentic and not just writing pop songs just for the sake of writing songs. Like I want every song to have meaning, and I think I hope that everybody that listens can at least find one song that means something to them. Like, even if you're not a fan of country music, like I would hope that if people gave us a chance and listened to our album, that they would resonate with an emotion or a feeling or a circumstance that we talk about in our songs, and they can relate to that and have that moment. So my process is pretty much the same. It's just I find inspiration, and then I'll sit down and I'll screw around on the guitar until something sounds right.
And you mentioned there listening to the radio station and having to call in to hear those songs. I remember doing that so much when I was a kid. And if you want to listen to, two different types of music, you'd stagger your calls, and it was a good time. But you've said in the past that you would rather be up on stage performing for a crowd than being played on the radio, because you feed off of that energy. And I feel like that's a much easier position to take today, when people can go on Spotify and build that playlist, and they don't have to wait for the radio to play their favorite song. How much do you think the digital transition has kind of helped you build that following a little bit without radio? Well,
it's opened a door that was never open before. You couldn't just get your music out there. Like having this, having Spotify and all the other, 45 streaming services that exist. Before that, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to have people in. We had a couple of listeners in Rwanda the other day, and I was like, "Who's listening to us in Rwanda?" But that would never have happened before that. And I saw this article about because people were kind of griping about how much Spotify pays the artists and stuff, and it was like something like, God, I'm gonna get the numbers wrong, but it was like 50,000 artists made $100,000 from Spotify, the year before, and like how many there's no way 50,000 musicians before Spotify made $100,000 off their music.
No.
Maybe it's not 50,000. I don't remember the exact number, but it was this huge number, and it's like, you have that opportunity now if you can market it right, if you can get on the right playlists and get the algorithm figured out and stuff. You have this opportunity that never existed before. And so it's, they pay a third of a penny per stream, but that's the third of a penny more than you had before. So
that's true.
And you can't, you're not going to Rwanda to play a show and sell merch. So you're getting out there in a way that was never possible before.
And that's a really good point. I think a lot of people miss the marketing aspect of being able to put your music in other people's hands. You might not see that direct return on investment for putting it out there, but you're going to see more people at your shows. You're going to get more shows. All of that's going to result in more down the line. And really, the more people that are listening, the more fun you're going to have at shows anyways.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll take all the radio play I can get, to be honest.
For sure.
But it is so much fun to get up and play songs in front of people, and especially when people are familiar with the songs and they sing along. That's the best feeling. There's nothing like that when people sing along to, some song that I just came up with in my car, or wherever, sitting in my bedroom, and when it strikes a chord with them and it touches them and moves them emotionally, like that's, man, ooh.
I mean, that's got to be next level. I spend a decent amount of my time up on stage, between different various things, and that's a thrill that you just can't match, being up on stage with a microphone in your hand. But to have that crowd respond back to you has got to be next level.
It really is. Yeah. It's, like I said, man, it gives me goosebumps, and like, you chase that high, you want that every time. And it's a great feeling.
Well, we've got another song here that hopefully people will be screaming back to you sometime soon. It's called Gypsy Blood. It's your newest release. Yeah. Give us the story behind this song.
Yeah. So Gypsy Blood. Well, first off, like the story in my family was that my grandpa, my dad's dad, was part like Romani gypsy from Eastern Europe. And so we grew up thinking like, all right, we got a little bit of gypsy in us, so that's just kind of backstory. But I was driving around and I get a lot of song ideas in my car, but and I was going through this time in my life where it was like, life was knocking me down and wouldn't let me up, just kept kicking me, and it was one of those seasons where everything was going wrong, and it was like months and months and months of things just going wrong and things going badly. And I started, I got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I want to continue, I don't know if I want to keep going just with life, and so, never had a plan for suicide, but it was on my mind. And I remember having this thought in my head that, life sucks, but I got a lot to live for. And I remember thinking, like, I feel like two different men, there's one that wants to just kind of give up, and there's one that wants to keep going. There's one that wants to keep fighting. There's one that wants to, I felt like two men, and that's where that line, in the chorus is, I'm two men, two dogs in the fight, two sides pulling, one dark and one light. And, I don't think country music's really ready for a song that's just blatantly about, figuring out whether or not you're going to commit suicide. So I kind of turned it into, like a rambling musician who's on the road, and he doesn't want to stay with this woman, but he's kind of debating on whether or not he's going to. But yeah, it actually was about that season of my life where I felt like two different people, like depending on the day, good days and bad days. But I went to counseling. I got some things figured out, and happy to report that I'm still here. So
that is good news. That is definitely good news. You can tell there's a powerful story behind this one. So let's let everybody take a listen. This one's called Gypsy Blood by the Sam Leyde Band.
Never been caught hanging around anywhere for far too long. When it's time to get good and gone, baby, I'm a rolling stone. But the way you love me's got me thinking I got it all wrong. One more taste of your lips and I might be gathering moss. 'Cause I'm two men, two dogs in the fight, two sides pulling, one dark and one light. One wants to stay and love you right, and the other wants to live on the edge of the night. Two men, two barrels of the gun, heart keeps pumping this gypsy blood. One wants to put down roots, and the other wants to burn it all down the road. Yeah, I got gypsy blood. Yeah, I got gypsy blood. Well, the road has always been my favorite kind of gone. When the time is right or the middle of the night, baby, I'll be moving on. And if you think I love you, well, you got me all wrong. Two-lane blacktop calling my name, living out a country song. 'Cause I'm two men, two dogs in the fight, two sides pulling one dog and one lie. One wants to stay, love you right, and the other wants to live on the edge of the night. I'm two men, two barrels with a gun, heart keeps pumping this gypsy blood. One wants to put down roots, and the other wants to burn it all down the road. Yeah, I got gypsy blood. Yeah, I got gypsy blood, baby. Woo! So I'm two men, two dogs in the fight, two sides pulling one dog and one lie. One wants to stay and love you right, and the other wants to live on the edge of a knife. Two men, two barrels of the gun, the heart keeps pumping this gypsy blood. One wants to put down roots, and the other wants to burn it all down the road. Yeah, I got gypsy blood. Yeah, I got gypsy blood.
Powerful story, powerful song, Gypsy Blood from the Sam Leyde Band. And Sam, it seems like you guys are playing a show every night of the week at this point. Where can people keep up with what you've got going on? What are your socials?
Yeah, so Instagram is at Sam Leyde Band. We have a website that'll take you right to the links for our YouTube and our Facebook and our Instagram and all that. It's just SLB.fan, SLB.fan. That'll take you to our website, but that specifically is a page that takes you to the links for our socials.
Perfect.
And we have our calendar on our website. Yeah.
Well, awesome. So just head on over there, figure out where they're going to be, come out to a show. It's always a good time. Sam, thank you so much for jumping on here. We're definitely going to have to do this again in the future.
Yeah,
maybe this time next year so that we can talk about the weather a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So, before we let you out of here, we end every show the same way we start it. It's called the Final Four. You up for it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's do it.
It's time for the Final Four.
Okay, first one's kind of easy. What's your favorite guitar brand or style? I said it was easy, but your face says that maybe it's not.
Oh, I bought a Gretsch Silver Falcon about 8 years ago. And I fell in love with Gretsch guitars for electric guitars. Acoustic guitars, I do love a good Martin.
You're a fan of good-looking guitars is what I'm hearing.
That's for sure, yeah.
Okay, and you can cheat on this one if you need to, but who are the three most recently played artists on your Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to music?
Oh, man, I've been way into a band called Pony Bradshaw lately.
Ooh.
Joey Anderson actually turned me on to them. This song, their song called Van Gogh has just been eating my lunch for like 3 weeks. Can't get it out of my head. So Pony Bradshaw, man, I would say probably Tyler Childers is up there. And then who else? Stapleton, obviously.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's a question I have to ask everybody that's on the show from the Inland Northwest.
Okay.
It's about French fries. You a crinkle cut, straight, or curly guy?
Oh, man. I'm a curly guy.
Okay. I can get behind that.
Yeah. Seasoned, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't have the fair curlies. Those are a little different.
No, not at all. Yeah. Okay. Seasoned curly fries. That'd be the way to go. Then the Chris cut, waffle.
Ooh, there you go. Okay.
And then regular after that. There
wasn't a right answer, but you just gave the right answer. So
now
There is now. Last question, Sam.
Yeah.
And take as much or as little time as you want to answer this. But if you could pick one thing for people to take away from your music or your appearance on the show, what would it be?
One thing. Well, I think something that we as a band have always strived since day one to do is if we're going to do something, we want to do it the best that we can. And so whether that's, performing or whether that's recording or, coming up with parts or whatever it is, we want to do things like as well as we possibly can. And we really are, who we are when we're on stage. That's really us. That's not, that's not putting on an act or anything. So I guess authenticity and just a desire to honestly just to do the best that we possibly can.
There you go. Guys, that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's a country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like the Sam Leyde Band and their new single, Gypsy Blood.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Gwinn. And as always, hosted by Pisani.